Hello and welcome to the BeeRPad. Hey, Marcus.
Yes, Ray.
Do you remember a few weeks ago we had an E3 episode and we told some old stories about E3?
Ray, I'm 52 years old. I can't remember what I had for breakfast.
Well,
I kid. I do remember. And it was, what a great episode it was. We were talking about when we were lads and we were off in LA and Atlanta and having fun. And then we railed against those who ruined E3. Goddamn millennials.
Did we rage against the machine?
We raged against the dying of the show. To totally butcher Dylan Thomas.
So I told a story about a gentleman who I referred to as Schmarren Gladstein.
Yes, that well-known Jewish games journalist.
Yes. And I got some of the details wrong. Some of it was just bad memory. Some of it was telling the story wrong on purpose to kind of embellish the legend of it. But
he is a legend. He's an absolute legend, that guy.
Yes. But I wanted to get the story straight for prosperity's sake. So I got the actual...
prosperity? You mean posterity, my friend?
That one too, whichever you prefer.
I want to get it straight for posteriors.
For my posterior's sake, I want to get this right. So I enlisted the actual person, and I don't know if you figured it out, but Schmarren Gladstein is actually our excellent friend,
Jeff Keighley.
Darren Gladstone.
Oh shit, not that guy.
But posterior is very appropriate too.
Yeah.
Darren, what's up?
Darren, the legend.
Fellas, how you doing? It's kind of funny that, you know, just talking about E3, I know the E3 conversation has been talked to death, but I really enjoyed it more for I almost see it like a homecoming with family every year. And like you guys, I'd run into you somewhere, we catch up on how our lives have been and all that. And this is a poor substitute for it, you know. Me from my bunker and you guys from your respective shelters. Bunkers.
Yeah, although, I mean, you know, the beauty of it, like you said, is much like catching up with family because it's perfect because you only get to see said family once a year.
Yeah. So basically I'm doing
4 days.
Right. Even though I wouldn't say we're over COVID. I'm just damn over the whole thing. But I've been catching up with friends individually over webcams for years now. And I was looking some
of those videos as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's my OnlyFans page. But I was really enjoying catching up with everybody individually, and I was really hoping this year to do it live. And it's kind of a bummer that because you know it's been talked to death. But I'm just saying it's like a bummer that I couldn't catch up with you all live.
You know what? Usually, if I'm in a room with both of you, there's usually alcohol involved. So I'm going to be drinking this episode. Hey, check out this.
Oh, should I?
Look at the mug.
Should I have gotten something?
I'm not stopping you. I'm not stopping you.
Hang on a second. I might have a solution for this.
And look at this handsome mug with this very.
Oh, look at this flat. Look, where'd this come from?
Very cool. What is that?
Oh, it's a growler. So
nice.
You know, it's nice to have a nice metal growler for when you need it. You know, in case of emergencies.
All right.
Or on camera props. But there you go.
I don't actually drink that much anymore, but I will break with tradition. And I know it probably surprises you, Darren, but yeah, I literally don't drink much anymore. But I don't have a growler, but I do have a Scotch collection.
Well, that's totally cool.
He's gonna bust out the Penmorangi, Glengarry, triple malted.
I'm busting out some of the Penderyn.
Well, now you've just classed up the whole joint, and I just feel like a schmuck. So there we are.
This is I think this is kind of apropos because this one is it's a limited edition. It's a Welsh single malt, but it's
gold.
Yes, it's gold.
Wow,
it's gold, and it's got a big fucking dragon on it.
Yeah.
Mate.
Oh, nice.
That's the Welsh flag, right?
Like
there.
your flag.
But yeah, it's called Hiraeth, which is basically a longing for home. Oh. And we've got a longing for E3 and hanging out with each other. So
that seems really appropriate. You just touched me right in my cold dead heart. So nicely done.
Did he
I've touched you in various places over the years, so you know.
You know, I'm trying to keep this highbrow, fellas. Highbrow.
Why start now? What are we? Episode 17? You think we've
19?
19.
Yeah,
that's a lot of lowbrow, mate. So anyway,
same age as my. Never mind.
From my 76 cup to you.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, cheers.
Cheers, fellas.
Oh, that's good
Glad to
question.
see you. Wish it could be in person. Can't wait till the
Agreed.
next time.
Agreed. So what's up, fellas? You it was like Beetlejuice style. You used my name in vain, and here what's going on?
Oh, that wasn't in vain. That was like that is one of the best, if not the best, E3 story I've ever heard. And
oh man, you don't even know half of my stories. That's that. If that's the although that actually that was
that's the best one I can tell.
fair enough.
There's a bunch of stories that should not be
We-
repeated publicly.
We do have stories that we cannot, especially in this day and age, we cannot repeat on recorded media.
Yeah.
Fair.
Because, you know, let's face it, twere a different time when we were lads.
Yeah, I think a lot of my stuff is like I basically just I kind of lived the Hunter S. Thompson lifestyle to the hilt. So basically, I just went and talked to weird people, and just had weird conversations, and just lived in the moment. And a lot of that stuff happened before YouTube. So there's that.
Yeah.
And social media. So yeah, cheers to that.
Let me for any of the younger people that might be watching. Darren, I knew as a journalist. I believe, were you at CNet when I first met you?
Well, I don't know when did I first meet you? Like, so I've been a journalist since '96.
Yeah, it's been a long. Or
So
no,
I don't know.
you were at Insight, I think.
Yeah, I was at Insight. I mean, I was at business publications for a long time.
Yeah,
and I always read. I mean, I was a huge fan of gaming press since like the early days of computer gaming world. So, but I never actually connected the dots in my brain that I could actually still write about games and be a journalist until and one day it just clicked, and I'm like, duh, why don't I just like stop doing this business writing and have fun? And so I took all that kind of uptight writing and kind of threw it out the window and started over. It was fun.
yeah,
And I met you. I think I met you in like either like 99 or so, 99, 2000.
Wow, it's been a long time.
It has been a stretch.
You did work at Insight, it's CNet, at Computer Gaming World. You also worked on the publisher side. You worked with companies like HP. You've had quite a successful and illustrious career. And
Well, I don't know if I'd say illustrious. I mean, but yeah, but I've had a fun time. Yeah, it's like I did the journalism thing for a stretch.
Yeah,
and then there was this era, like basically around 2007 or 8, when a lot of the journalists kind of started getting in their heads, hey, you know what? Instead of writing about the games industry or tech or whatever, how about I flip it and do it from the other side?
right.
So get paid a shit ton more.
Well,
Right.
no, actually, so the way I used to put it was, if you're being a journalist, more so now than back when I was doing it, is like, it's like imagine you're digging a hole in your backyard. And then, like, you're really proud. I'm going to make a pool in this backyard with this hole I just dug. And then you wake up the next morning and some jackass filled it up with dirt overnight. You do it all over again. That's what it felt like after a while. And so around 2007 and 8, it was like, so I had this goofy idea in my head to kind of take what I'm doing and bring it to the tech side, to the company side. Dan Ambrick did that. And Kroll was doing that with like his hit detection. He started around then. But before that, there was like, Luke and Brian. So Luke went over to Bungie. Then I used to work at Zip Davis. There was Brian Intihar, who I worked with at Zip Davis as well. Obviously, he's gone on to do amazing things. Dave, the names just go on and on.
Yeah.
Everyone had this idea of like, hey, I've done awesome things here. Let's try to flip it and do it on the other side. And that's how the cycle matriculated, and a lot of people came up and have from there. But yeah, so I've had a good run and I've had fun, and so HP, 2K, and now I'm helping out among other
2K,
things.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, among other things, I'm over at Telltale now and having a blast with the new Telltale.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, that about around the time you were making the transition from journalist to more corporate,
that's right. You went back to the other direction. You ran screaming.
Like, fuck this! I've been nice to people for 15 years. I cannot do it anymore. I'm done. I mean, I literally reached a period where I was like, I can't tolerate being nice to anybody. And Annoyed Gamer was born in 2007. So good grief.
It is funny. I did. That is a funny transition too. I mean, how did that feel, going from like, how the sausage is made to reporting on it? So that gave you a lot of extra insights.
Yeah, it did. And it was a lot more fun because around that time, it was great that there was an influx of former journalists who were coming into the games companies, the smart game companies were hiring former journalists to take advantage of their expertise and make things better. But then there was a bunch of other companies, Vivendi, who decided to hire a bunch of numpties from the likes of, this person worked for KFC. So therefore, they really have an insight on how to make video games and how to market video games. And it just became a toxic area where all you could do, basically, if you didn't stick your nose up the nearest marketing director's ass, you were never out to survive. And I just had too much of that. I left, and then not so long afterwards, another mutual friend of ours left. We shall not say his name, but it does rhyme with David Harry or Rat Harry.
Yeah. But how did you really feel?
Well, I loved working with him. He was awesome. And
he always seemed like a nice guy to me.
Oh God, yeah.
Wonderful.
Well, he still is. I mean,
but I mean, I didn't have as many interactions with him. Like run into him at GDC or something.
He's the only one who kept me sane at Vivendi for such a long time. But yeah, I mean, I just decided that I need to get away. I need to recharge. I was sick of, like I said, the same old, and then being told by a marketing person that I was doing my job wrong because I wasn't filling these quotas and getting the X, Y, and Z, and like, fuck off. I know what I'm doing. So yeah, that's when I ended up ended up at Game Trailers for a good while.
Yeah, and you had a good run. You did some really cool stuff.
It was great. Unfortunately, I think I know there are a lot of people who did it better. Angry Video Game Nerd and Jim Sterling, to name just two, who were doing the same sort of thing, but they did it much better, more articulately than me. But yeah, it was nice to bring a different perspective and say, all right, well, they think this game is great, but these fuckers are doing X, Y, and Z, and this is the way it's working, and people were going, So, but I'm glad so many awesome journalists, back when we had journalists. You remember that? You remember that time when there were actual journalists who'd put their, who'd paid their dues and made their bones?
I think there are still four. I think there are four left.
Here, I gotta clarify something, because I still think there's still plenty of good journalists out there, more than I can count on one hand or two hands. But I feel like the real difference. I mean, if you want to, I don't want to go too deep down this hole because I could wax poetic for days. But one of the things I was reflecting on recently is that the nice thing about I came from the Dead Trees era, and I was writing for monthly publications. And so the thing that I really loved about that era was that you had the opportunity to pursue a story, to actually try to dig up facts, and you had you had editorial coverage, hey, this story didn't pan out, I'm going to throw it out and do something else. Or, or you had a chance to kind of consider and reflect and have a really
refine.
And you had a point to make, and it's if you didn't have a point to make, it didn't earn the space in the magazine. And that was actually the coolest thing, is you had an editor that kind of said, nah, it's not going to fly. And they have that to a degree. They have that, in weeklies and dailies and stuff like that. And especially when you look to online. And I think, and this is actually to every journalist's disservice now, is that because they're so sprinting to get to be first, or to have that hot take, or to get the clickbait, they're just going for the easy layup, as opposed to the thing that takes more time.
And they don't have a meaningful point, like you said, making a point. I miss that.
They don't have to refine their story.
And there's a lot of really talented, intelligent writers that are in the business right now, and I truly wish that more of them had that opportunity to do that long form writing, that actually do the research, do the legwork, get the three sources, and tell a feature story. But not everyone can do that, and that's one of the reasons why I kind of decided to step away from journalism, because I feel like that was a dying art.
Now, guys, do you feel, is that the case because the publishers don't want to publish that kind of content, or because the audience, the younger gamers, don't want that type of content, or is it a combination of both?
I think it's a combination, in my humble opinion. I mean, I think it's a matter of look at what was attracting the numbers. Look, what was attracting the money back then? It was ad sales. ad sales support. I mean, there was this big wall between the editorial and sales departments. Even though you'd have people saying, "Oh, you guys are totally getting paid for it," but no, I wouldn't know. The left hand would not know what the right hand is doing. Like you could have this full page ad, I would have no idea, or a whole website takeover ad, I still have no idea. But when it comes to now today, I can't speak to what the financial decisions being made, but I think that it's that basically everyone did not plan for YouTube. They did not plan for Twitch. They did not plan for the fact that everybody is a citizen journalist now, effectively, with their own YouTube channels, and some just have bigger audiences and bigger draws than classic journalists.
I agree with all of that.
I like that. Classic.
I agree with everything you just said, but I also think even half a step before that, there was a time on the internet where articles were, listicles became the thing everyone was doing. And so many of them are so thoughtless and vapid that.
I mean, I remember the early days of IGN and GameSpot and GameSpy, where there were those long form articles.
Yeah.
They were really, really good. And like your point, obviously, on the YouTubeification and the social media of the 80 characters or less of media as it's well made. But yeah, I mean, it did. I still prefer to read a long article than watch a video. And I know it's ironic, bearing in mind we're doing a video right now, but that's because, I'm too lazy to write this sort of thing. And, I don't want to, do an interview with you and type it out, transcribe it. Fuck that. Yeah. Too old.
Well, I mean, the irony of what we're doing right now, but I mean, to be honest with you, there are a number of streamers that I prefer. I watch a number of streamers, not to like I think like Jeff Grubb is a great example of a great journalist who's got a great voice, and he has a weekly, a near daily thing during the week where he's basically just kind of spitting back the news of the day with a guest and thoughts. There's this one guy who I recommend. His name's he goes by Skill Up, and it's basically and basically the way he writes, you can tell that he writes out in long form his thoughts and reads them back over footage, and it's just very sharp. It kind of reminds me of the stuff I used to enjoy being a part of in magazines. That's the highest compliment I can give someone. And there's people like that out there. It's just
Jeff
a matter
Grubb
of
is one of those he used to be a regular journalist.
He still is. He absolutely still is.
He's adapted very well to this.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, he's been around a long time.
Yeah, he's been around forever, and I respect the hell out of what he does. So that's just examples of I'm not any of my previous statements. I don't want to be misconstrued as me just dumping on whoever's out there right now. I think that there's a lot of talented people out there, and some that are great exemplars of what you should be doing.
Oh, you made that clear.
You're a nice man.
And you're a nicer guy than both of us. So there's that. But Darren, before we get too far ahead, I do want to get on the record the finger story as told by you.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay, so let's set the scene. Okay?
Time machine.
Time machine. Okay, so let's set the scene. This is, I want to say it's 99. It's 1999. E3 LA. It was a THQ martini and cigar party.
Yes.
And so I show up and I'm like, great. I don't smoke cigars, so I take the cigar. I'm like, I give it to somebody, whatever. I don't drink martinis. I take the glass, just leave it on the counter, whatever. And a cigar cutter, that looks kind of cool, whatever. I put it in my pocket, forget about it. And so and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna drink some vodka. And I go up to the bar. I'm having vodkas. That was my drink.
Straight
back
up.
then.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, vodka on the rocks.
On the rocks, same. I had that problem too. Got me in a lot of
trouble. I wouldn't say problem. I would just say solution.
Okay. Anyway, after 3 days of traipsing around the show.
Yeah. So anyway, so I'm hanging out with my friends, and we're at some party, and then we're like, okay, we're gonna go down Sunset Strip to go to another bar. I'm like, okay, why not? We're gonna meet up with some folks over at the Mondrian or Sky Bar or some nonsense like that, whatever it was. And we're walking down Sunset Strip, and I'm just kind of like, it's a little brisk out. I put my hands in my pockets, and then all of a sudden, I feel this pinch on my finger, and I'm like, what the? So I pull my hand out, and apparently I don't know if you've ever studied cigar cutters, but they're basically they're little guillotines, right?
Yeah.
So apparently my finger decided to pretend it was the French Revolution, and so is my this right here, this guy right here, this little
piggy,
there. This little piggy was I have my hand in there, and I pull it out. I'm like, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God! So basically, it's like you can't. The camera's not going to pick it up, but there's like right along that knuckle, right along that joint, like the thing cut right into it. Like, so my finger's dangling, and so I instantly, like, the first thing, because I mean I have like a head full of vodka, and I'm walking in the middle of Sunset Strip. The first thing I get is, oh my God! And I put my finger in my mouth, and I'm like trying to like staunch it with like what the hell am I going to do? So you have to remember, this is like pre-Uber. LA, Sunset Strip. Who knows what's going to happen next? So anyway, so I'm like this, and I'm with a couple of my fellow editors at the magazine I was at the time. I'm not going to name names, keep them all innocent. They turn around and go, and they look at me like, ha ha, really funny. And I'm like, no, guys, and like it's like Gene Simmons, like blood spitting out of my mouth, and they're like, holy shit, and they And so someone, one of the group, raises their hand trying to catch a cab, and I have no idea how. Like, it's like I'm not a religious man, but I believe in God. After that night, a cab instantly pulls over. We get in. We file into the cab. I don't have my wits about me because I'm just kind of sitting here trying to keep my finger in one piece. And they say, "Where's the nearest hospital?" And it's like basically Thursday or Friday night in LA. And he goes, whatever, Sinai, Cedar Sinai, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Something Sinai. I don't know.
Cedar Sinai in Beverly Hills.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So like, let's go. And so I kind of say like, hey, do you have any napkins or anything? And the guy doesn't even look back. He just goes like right behind. He goes like, look behind you. And there's like a whole tissue box like sitting there right behind us on like that little sill behind the seats. And I didn't even like stop to think. I'm like, first of all, what are the odds of the cab just picking me up, ready to take me to the hospital? What are the odds of like this? I didn't want to think of why I had tissues in the back, but I took them anyhow. I grabbed the tissues. I just jam it on. I'm like, okay, at least I have something to staunch this and hold it in place. Mm-hmm. We get to the ER, and they go, okay, what's the problem? I'm a dummy. I chopped my finger off. And they put I'm in the waiting room. Because they look at it, like, okay, you'll be all right. Just kind of basically what happened was it went to the middle of the knuckle, and so not all the way through. So that's the good news.
Pretty damn close.
Yeah, it was not pretty. So I'm holding this thing. So basically, imagine like some guy, who was flying on vodka, having a grand old time until that moment, suddenly at the ER with this. And he's sitting there going, suddenly has a case of the munchies. So I'm trying to sit here and like, it's like, I'm trying to eat. So basically I'm trying to eat potato chips like this from the vending machine as like.
How did you get the potato chips out of the vending machine?
Which is another fun question.
This is what I need to know. How did you get your money out into the vending machine and the chips and you get them picked up? How did you open them? Did you have somebody with you?
Well, yeah. So actually, yeah. All those glorious bastards, the people who were there with me, who were with me, like on the way to the Sky Bar, they were in the cab with me. It was like it's like I know what you did. It was like I know what you did last summer.
Yeah. These are all.
They all know what happened. They all came with me to the hospital. It was actually the most. Like, I literally told them multiple times, guys, I don't want to ruin your night. You guys go. I got this. Right. But they refused. They're like, nope, we're sticking this out, which was admirable as hell. And
they all wanted to be able to tell the story.
Decades
to come.
Everyone
that was with him at the hospital.
Maybe. Anyway, so
you do.
Anyway, so basically like that whole thing happens. And and that was the first time I ever had instead of just stitches, it was basically surgical glue, which was kind of like that blew my mind. So it was pretty. This was again like 2099. So it's like back then, like, oh my God. And then so anyway, they give me, I after a couple hours, they give me this big bottle of Vicodin, and
That's nice.
well, if you see, the thing is, I've always, like, I'm like, I used to joke. It's a joke, but I do believe in it. It's like you master one vice, and that's it. And so my vice was alcohol, and so I just said, I don't need these pills. I'm fine.
Yeah.
So
Okay, I could have used them.
well, anyway, so like I kind of just muscled through the rest of the show. I had this giant thing wrapped around my pinky, like this whole like splint and everything, and like I definitely felt that for a couple days. It was a lot going on there, and
you know what, you really if you were of a more litigious bent, you could have sued THQ back to the Stone Age.
Yeah, but you know what? But you can't sue for stupidity.
They were providing that sort of thing at an event with a shit ton of alcohol.
Yes, they provided the cutter and the booze.
Yeah, I mean, how many? It's like, oh, let's see if I can circumcise myself.
Right. So
I mean, come on.
So anyway, so I went through the rest of the show. It was like there wasn't much left of the show after that, thank God, because I didn't have to write anything like due the next day. So that was good news. So I'm at the airport and I run it, and Erica Kay, she sees me with my splint and she puts everything together in her head in an instant. She goes, "Oh my God, you're that guy!" Because like the story, and that's why I put that guy there as the thing. So
that guy.
Love it.
So that is the official story of what happened to my finger. And by the way, the miracle of all miracles is that it is fully articulated. I have full sensation. I'm still, like, years later, it feels great. However, whenever there's a weather change, I know it's changing before it actually does. Like my pinky tingles like spider sense style. It's crazy.
You have a Darren tingle? That's awesome.
You know what? Again, high road, highbrow. We're up here, buddy.
Well, so you can stay there. I'll be down.
You're on the wrong show.
I'm on the wrong stream. I'm trying to class you guys up. I don't know what's going on here.
That'll never happen.
Why stop now?
So when I retell this story 10 years from now, I'm gonna be like, his arm was almost chopped off.
Oh yeah, the thing is, at least this is the public record. Like you and your moms have seen this. So anyway,
apparently we're up to like 40 viewers now.
All right,
we're really pushing the envelope.
Woo-hoo!
It's a really small envelope, but it is self-sealed.
Dozens of people are going to be thrilled to hear this story.
That's right. I'm world famous in my house. Anyway,
but it'll be on YouTube forever. In case anyone, and I will make a chapter. So
a chapter just for that stupid ass story. My kid will be proud one day to see that.
It is a fantastic story. I honestly, this is one of the best things that I can say publicly that I've ever heard happen at any E3.
Oh man, I had so many. You know what the funny thing is like I've had so many weird, and I kind of earlier mentioned like Hunter S. Thompson and my weird kind of gravitation to weirdness. And actually the picture. I'm just noticing in the in the camera here. That's from my Hunter S. Thompson-esque story I did for Insight with Demi and Lynn.
I remember that.
That was, we had so much. That was during the Descent tournament in Vegas. That's when Fatality won his first competition.
Wendell, is that his name?
Yeah.
I saw Damian in September. We were randomly at Oahu at the same time.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
it's really weird. Like sometimes I'll run into people like because our vacations overlap or something.
Yeah, we're at that age now, huh? That's how you bump into people at random things now.
Well, it's either at a trade show or at a designated vacation time after you've survived said trade show,
or a funeral.
Or wow,
because we're getting old.
Wow, thanks.
I mean, no, it's. I mean, look, I don't. My wife and I. The reason I said that, my wife and I were having this conversation a couple of weeks ago. We said that you can tell we're getting old because we're not getting invited to weddings anymore.
We're getting yeah.
But we're getting invitations to funerals, which is just it's a sad, but it is a sobering thing. And it's one has to treat everything with that pinch of salt. And
well, if we're gonna go down this road, I'm just gonna throw one thought out there.
Yeah.
When my time comes, I want it to be a big ass party where everyone's just laughing and remembering the good old times.
Okay, I'll be there. Like to Darren's finger with this.
Will
There
there
you
be?
go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Will there be finger food?
Yes. Lots of hors d'oeuvres.
So I am. I have plans that there's going to be 2 events for when I finally shuffle it. There's going to be the big ass party for all the people I actually love, and then everybody else will be invited to the actual funeral, the ones I don't like. Because as soon as they set foot into wherever I'm going to get cremed or crisped or whatever, doors are going to be locked. And up on the screen will come a 4-hour video of me telling them exactly what pissed me off.
The final Annoyed Gamer cast. There you go.
Everybody on this stream invited to the party, so you're okay.
If it becomes legal in more states, I do want to do that thing where they turn your body into soil.
Put you under a tree.
Useful. Yeah, and then they could eat our plums after we're gone.
Wow.
All right,
I was really I was hoping for a really happy ending to my day. So
no, I think I don't know. I think environmentally, I think cremation it's still better than burial for the environment.
Yeah, it's basically earth cremation or some sort of thing, or aqua cremation.
Yeah,
so they put you in a fluid and put you in the ground, but they plant a tree so that its nutrients feed off you.
You're right.
Which is actually way better because let's face it. I mean,
if someone wants to ferment beer with me, I'm okay with that. That'd be interesting.
Can you do that?
I don't know, but there's a first for everything.
What was that? Round 12. No.
Yeah,
if you ever in Southern California in the Pasadena area and you come across a tree that's shaped like that,
that's you.
You can tell I'm underneath it.
There you go. There you go. So aside our shuffling off this mortal coil, what else is going on in your collective lives? You morbid bastards.
I don't know.
This is gallows humor 101, dude.
Yeah,
you gotta have a laugh with this stuff.
Oh, I know. Well, I'm right here with you.
Yeah.
I mean, we're at a stage where we're closer to the end than the beginning, and sadly, there are people in our lives that we lost way too early, and I still think about them every day. Like I think about Ronnie most days.
Yeah.
Jenny Mahalka. I mean, these were people I loved that were gone so young, and that kind of, yeah. I'm still not over that one, especially Saturday where my team is playing his.
So.
Yeah, I mean the fact that there'll be Sheffield United will probably be up playing against our teams next year. Not Everton.
I mean, I'm not gonna dwell. I don't want to go too dark or TMI on this, but like I had one of those moments early on in my childhood, and that kind of woke me up to like. And actually, the reason why I decided to kind of go gonzo lifestyle wise was because of that. I was like, I had this in my head, a shelf life of 35 years. And so
can I ask how old you were? And was it a friend or a relative that was older or someone in the same age range as you?
It was someone a little older than me. And I was I was just out of high school. And so I basically was just like, all right, if I'm going to go out on my terms. And so I kind of just said, like, what is the most ridiculous thing I want to do with my life? And I'm going to do that.
Right.
And so, like, basically like you go to a restaurant, like, what's the craziest thing on the menu? Yes, I'll have it. And it was basically, what is the weirdest drink I can have? I'm going to do that. Who's that weird person at the bar? I want to hear their story.
His name is Hudak. Oh no.
Oh boy.
I'm kidding.
No. But I mean, like, it's like it kind of set the stage for. Like I never would have gotten into the game industry, frankly, if that moment didn't happen. So like, as much as that's
a good question. Can I ask how did you get in the game industry? Now that you mentioned it.
Well, so I was working in New York I started in book publishing, and I went to periodicals, monthlies. I was doing business work, and I was always a gamer. I mean, hell, I was a QA tester at Acclaim for a bit, just for fun on weekends, because it's just something I wanted to do.
When they were still in Glen Cove?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I got into. I was a straight journalist. I was a writer at a college. And then I guess at some point one of the magazines I had worked for at the time was acquired by someone else, and that magazine and the acquisition connected me with like more entertainment publications, and it started like it's like, hey, you could loosen up. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Let me try this, and so then it just kind of spun from there, and then again, this is all part of my like follow my id, just do things. Why not?
Yeah.
One day I said I on a whim, I flew out to LA. Why not? And then I realized when I landed, I'm like, oh crap, I don't like this town. And so I got on Amtrak, wound up in San Francisco, just literally like give me a bindle stick. That's basically what it was. So I wind up in San Francisco on a whim, and I fell in love with the city like the second I got off the train.
Yeah.
And I bought a suit.
Isn't that ironic that you felt that way about LA and I felt that way about San Francisco?
Well, there you go. I mean, like everyone finds their place. I mean, like if you're a complete a-hole, no, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so I wind up. But I wound up, and so what happened was I literally I bought a suit while I was on vacation, on this impromptu vacation. Interviewed for a job at Ziff Davis, and then a couple weeks later, I just basically packed up what little stuff I could carry in 2 duffel bags and moved out west. And it was basically like I'm 20 something. If I don't take this chance now in my life, I never will.
Because we met in, was it 2000 when I moved to
2000?
Ubisoft from Red Storm? Yeah, I was at Red Storm, and then they were bought out by Ubi, and then I moved over to take over the Tom Clancy PR.
Okay.
And moved to San Francisco, and that's when we first started hanging out. Because I hadn't been in games PR in the US before that. I'd done it in the UK for several years, but yeah, that's when we started hanging out. And I gotta say, I mean, you've always been a bright spot for me.
Yeah.
In regards to just seeing you at E3, seeing you whatever industry events down the years. You've always, it's one of those faces I look out for every time.
Come on,
and after 10 minutes, I realized what the fuck. But,
there we go.
But no, I mean, dude, you've always had this joie de vivre.
Absolutely.
That can be infectious and sometimes dangerously so.
But see, my favorite thing about Darren is whenever I knew I was drinking with Darren, I knew I was going to have fun, and I knew I would be on the line of staying safe. I might get to the edge of the line, but I knew it would be a safe and fun night. Like some of our friends.
Oh yeah. Like I said, I was a master of one vice.
You were a fun drunk. You were a fun drunk back then.
You're definitely a fun drunk.
Well, I did what I could, and and I survived.
Sometimes I don't know how. Now we bump into each other at shows or whatever, and we like, where's the nearest table and chairs? Let's sit down.
I think honestly, like what I was, I forget who it was. I was just catching up with recently, and I was just saying, like, it's not. I still feed off the. I'm like an energy vampire, like Colin from. What they do in the shadows. I suck the energy from. I live off the energy in the room. I kind of like it.
You don't suck the energy out of a room. I mean, you basically you're like the paraffin on a flame.
Okay, I'll go with that.
Yeah, because I've never. Nobody I know could ever say that you suck the energy out of the room.
But I absorb it though. I love the energy.
You basically absorb and radiate out.
Yeah,
there are a lot of people in this industry who can suck the air out of a room. And
how about you're a moon? You reflect the sun's brilliance.
Okay, you guys are killing me here. I don't take. Okay,
you were not expecting.
This is way too mushy. I expect like trash talk or something.
Oh, you're still a fucking asshole, but we love you.
Perfect, thank you. That give me the compliment sandwich.
Hang on. All right, these two. I put a post up on Facebook last week because I'm starting to liquidate some of my video game memorabilia. And I go to sleep and I put this up, and there's some people like, "Oh, we're interested in this." And yeah, that's great. I was like, "Oh, okay. There's some interest. Great." I wake up the next morning to find that there is a mini thread sprung up between these two clowns that's basically full on insults, abuse, and I can't remember what it was about, but you two were just going to fucking town on each other. And I'm like,
we do that.
I missed this.
And
then we make up afterwards.
Yeah, but I don't mean it maliciously. I've never meant it maliciously at all. Sometimes I've pushed a little too far, but it is out of a loving place, because I very much enjoy your company, and I know there are people that I can't make those kinds of jokes with. Like I had the business card thing with you like way back when, where I don't even remember what it was, but
I remember exactly what it was. I remember the moment.
Okay, you tell it then. I want to see.
All right, yeah. So I remember I was having this meeting with J Allard talking about Xbox and the Games for Window initiative, and we were having this really like in-depth nerdy conversation about like multiple windows into the same world, and like talking about like connecting Windows CE devices or whatever it was at the time, with Xbox, with PC gaming, and how it's all gonna like you could play different ways, and it's gonna be so crazy. And then Ray comes in like in the middle of the thing, and he literally like I was talking to Jay, and Ray comes in. "Oh, hey Darren, how's it going? Do you have your new business cards yet?" I'm like, "Sure, here you go." And he takes it, he rips it right in front of me and Jay, and just throws it on the table, and then I'm like, "That's my Ray."
I actually found one of your. I have one of your business cards here. I found. You remember when you got the really small, the minis?
Oh yeah, those goofy cards.
Yeah, because I had a bunch of them done, and then you and I swapped cards one E3, and I've still got one of yours. I found it in one of my boxes not so long ago, and again, I mean, there's Ray's cards, of which there are 30,000. When independent game, video game journalist, the king of Vegas vaping. That was always fun.
My happy puppy one with the fucking dog on it.
There you go, the happy puppy. I remember those days.
Oh god! Hey, oh my god, happy puppy. That's not a phrase I've heard in a long time.
Yeah, that's way.
Yeah, I found my old Novalogic business cards. Nice. Less than a week ago, and they're around here in a folder somewhere. Yeah. Oh God, we old.
Novalogic.
Yeah, there we go. We can just name drop old companies that no one remembers anymore. It's so much fun. or Dead Trees Publications, or like it is kind of funny seeing streamers referring to like podcasts that I was on or magazines like in passing, like, "Oh yeah, I remember this as a baby." I'm like, "Oh, yep, that's where it's at."
Do you miss things about print? Like, I miss the challenge of fitting X amount of characters into X amount of space. And
yeah, I mean, like there's a challenge, and it's a fun challenge. Basically, you have to think about, okay, how can I say this differently to still convey the point? And actually, one thing I will say, and this is actually one thing I truly miss in life in general, is having a copy editor, catching all my mistakes. But not just that, actually, like a really good copy editor would actually just make your writing better, would challenge you and go, like they kick it back with questions. Like when I work with Jason Wilson, who's gone on to do amazing things at other places, and he does. So I loved working with him because he would always take a story that I would write an op-ed column, and he would just say, "Okay, now here's I see what you're doing, but what if we tried dialing this part a bit?" Like, and we go back and forth. He goes, "Yeah, that's it. That's the one." And it was someone who basically made your writing better, and that's what I love about the it was a collaborative process.
And I miss, and compared to so many websites, they are just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. And the copy editor's job is basically, are you offending any races or religions here?
Well, it's not. Honestly, I mean, I can't even speak to the current status of companies. I don't know if they have copy editors, and maybe they do. I was at places where they got rid of copy editors for online, and that was kind of a sad commentary for things. So yeah.
Right.
So I'm going to put you on the spot here, Darren.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you to deliver one of your favorite memories of being in games media. I'm sure you and chopping your finger off does not count.
No, it does not count.
But you've had such a long and storied career, and obviously I know that. Yes, indeed, I've used the word storied career. I know you've done so well when you've gone off to the publishers, and you've done great things there. But I will always remember you as Darren Gladstone, journalist, and we've had some conversations over the years. I've left a voicemail or two.
Oh, you know what?
Got me into trouble back in the day. But no,
I'd say okay. No, this is fair. I'd say I had so many, like, it's hard to pick just one favorite memory, but I think like there was always so one of the things that I'm going to be like, most of my favorite memories as a journalist kind of stem from when I was working with the Ziff Davis crew in computer gaming world, and so it's hard to even refine just one. But I know there was like this weird adversarial relationship between PC gamer and computer gaming world back then, but all those guys are my friends. Like, we would hang out all the time. We would have lunches together. We would have we go on the weekend, we get together and like go out for, movies and lunch and whatever. But during the days, we were like fiercely competing with each other. And so I got this weird perverse thrill every time, like they would have some cover story and I would have a scoop based on their cover story going out right at the same time. So basically like, oh, we got this exclusive, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, and by the way, here's my little one-page preview that basically sums up all the stuff that you were just talking about in your cover story. And it would appear on the newsstands at the same time. And it would just be like, and so after a while, like Dan Morris and I, for example, like he would be EIC and I was like the features guy over at CGW. And we'd be like joking, like we're like playing chess across, the magazines. And and so it was like this weird, like I definitely was tapping into my news hound roots at that point, and I really loved that. Those were fun times.
I'm glad they were fun for you as somebody who was on the receiving end of one of those.
Oh, I've been on the receiving end too, and there were times that I got really I got screwed over and misrepresented, and so I've actually like pulled cover stories because someone lied to me or misrepresented the truth to the point where I was like, okay, fine, you're going to do that. I just made up an idea for a cover story. Yeah, actually there was 1 month where basically someone pulled that on me and I said, okay, you know what? You just lost your cover and I'm going to do a story called 101 Free Games. And that was like our best-selling issue of the year that year.
Nice.
But I mean, yeah, so I mean, it was, I really, the one thing that I really liked about the CGW days, and I've tried to kind of map my career to finding places that allow the same kind of freedom, is where like they would encourage me back then to come up with wacky ideas, whether it was like how to present an article, how to tell a story or something, and they gave me a lot of leeway to deliver a story how I thought it needed to be done, and whether it's a funny feature or a long investigative piece, which we had some crazy ones. And like, for example, I worked with Patrick Klepek on this 6-month pieced out, series of stories that kind of examined like basically the state of MMOs, or basically what, it's like everyone talks about live service games. Like, no, it's just MMOs dressed up in a different box. And
Without the fun.
Well, that's neither here nor there. I mean, like, there's fun stuff on both. Like, there's a lot of fun stuff in MMO side.
Oh my God, Darren, get off the fence! There's splinters in your ass.
I like the splinters on my. Anyway, so well, no, it's I think like what it was is like there were some really ambitious MMOs back in the day that would be considered live service games today, and they were really fun, and they just didn't get their moment in the sun because everybody's competing. Anyway, so I'm going way. I could go all over the map, but the short version is. I really had a great time just coming up with really crazy stories and seeing what I can get away with back then.
Continuing with Marcus's train of thought, what was your most memorable press event?
Okay, so I should say I would go to press events, but I wouldn't really like. There was another journalist who I was at one press event with. They said like, you can get my attention, but you're not going to get my opinion. There's been some really extravagant ones, and whenever I go on these trips, it would basically be out of my own pocket. I wouldn't accept free trips from companies. Like it would either be me paying out of my own pocket and writing it off on my taxes, or it would be the magazine saying, "Okay, we'll pay for you to go."
Right.
And so I would go on these weird trips, and I'm like, "Okay, fine, sure." But I'd say, but I never. Okay, so what I will say is, I'm going to tell you about the story of the one that I wrote up. I never actually wrote about events that I went to because I just felt like that's just falling in, as you would know. It's falling into the hands of what PR wants.
Right.
PR wants you to like write about
scum.
Yes, they are. So they want you to write about the event, right? So
I'm point of order here. Point of order here.
We're in Parliament
as
now.
a former PR guy, I did these events to get coverage for my games. I really didn't give a shit if you wrote about where we were.
Oh no! Sometimes they made it seem like that though. You have to admit there was a lot of those like they made it out like here write about the event itself.
I never got to go on those because I was a PR guy, but I wanted to get coverage for my games, go somewhere cool, and get shit faced with my friends, i.e., you lot.
There you go. No, but as far as like I think like the only time I ever, like I said, wrote up about an actual event because I thought it was so like insane. And it was like so basically I was at South by Southwest one year and it was for NCSoft's Tabula Rasa. And so they hosted this crazy ass event at Richard Garriott's Lord British's
at his castle
at his estate.
Nice.
And so basically I'm like, how could I it was like there was like play acting, there was like a whole scenario, they tried to set up this whole thing like conspiracy theory and spaceships, and I was like, okay, you know what? I never do this, but this is like I just wrote it up on like the One Up blog at the time. It was just so wacky. I had to say something, but I like you said, Marcus. Like a lot of these events, it was just like I view it the same way I viewed E3 or anything else. It was just like it was an excuse to get together with friends. Because at the end of the day, I don't know if it's changed dramatically because I don't live in that facet of the world anymore, but I always kind of saw it as like we're all professionals. We all have a job to do. Your job, like a PR person's job, was to tell me about a game and try to keep as much information from me as possible. And my job was to try to get as much information out of you as possible. So I would buy someone drinks and try to get that information out of them. But we always had this middle ground. But we always had this middle ground where I would appreciate the moment. I would hang out with you as a human being, but I'm never gonna like pull my punch. We're gonna we're gonna chop it up and have fun, but at the end of the day, I got to go back and write this article, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I saw, how I felt, what came out of it, and I feel like that was a good time to do it. You had it felt like everyone kind of was on the same page, right?
Yeah,
and
for sure.
And I don't know if it's more adversarial these days, or some people just take the word of some as gospel, or I think the one thing that always kind of gets under as a former journalist is when I see people that they have an agenda and they're going to push the agenda no matter what. And I'm not getting political about this. I'm not getting anything. I'm just saying, like, if you have a point to make, you have to present both sides. If you don't have both sides, you don't have a story. You have an opinion piece.
I think you're right. I think there's a lot of sites now that this is anything and everything we cover will be reframed to get into our narrative. And you see it, and it's like if you're on the right, you agree with certain places, and if you're on the left, you agree on certain places, and if you're moderate or left of center, you just want to smack everybody.
I think is I kind of see this from the perspective of, like, obviously I have a different perspective now as someone who's working in publishing and working with games companies for going on 10 years now, something like that. I guess when I think back to the journalism days, you're always beholden to the truth. It's not your truth. It's not their truth. It's what is the actual event, and you have information on both sides to corroborate what you did or what happened. And
right, like I always think about how am I serving the reader with this?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, am am I following an agenda to tell a story, or am I actually like doing a service for the reader? Am I helping them out? And my only hope for any journalist is that they follow that path, is that they tell the truth as best they can. And also the other important thing is owning up to if you get it wrong. There's so many times I'd see somebody like get the facts completely wrong, and they would like, I don't know, basically they kind of like do a half-hearted correction a day or two later because they didn't want to oh, the story's already done. Sorry.
Yeah. See, back in my journalism days, I always had this idea of combining informing and entertaining.
Yeah.
But now it seems like the balance is just way off, where it's like 90% or even higher about entertaining, and if we throw some facts your way, then you have those too.
Right. Well, I think it kind of comes with: do you want to be a personality, or do you want to be a journalist? And that's what it is. Like, are you a personality first? And that's the thing. Like for me, ironically, as someone like I had a column in my name in a magazine. I see the full irony of me saying that I don't want to be a personality, or like I wasn't. I was just I just wanted to be a writer. At the end of the day, I just enjoyed writing, and I enjoyed kind of like exploring topics and having fun conversations with people I respected.
Yeah, for me, I never considered myself a journalist because you guys were journalists. You were a different tier to anything I ever did because I was basically a gobshite with a bunch of experience on a different side and a very sexy accent. Hang on. No, very sexy accent.
Yes.
Okay, I'll give you that. Yes.
You were a pundit.
I was a pundit. I was a talking head. I was a commentator on the state of the industry. But yeah, I was always in awe. I mean, even as a PR guy, even when a review didn't go my product's way or whatever, deep down, I would always be in awe of how people wrote them, or if they were writing up interviews or covering, previews. I mean, I still am when I see certain things. I see less of it in the game sphere. Which
now, speaking of people you worked with, Darren, you've worked with some great editors who were also really talented, but also just really cool people too. Is there anyone who would you say you missed working with the most from your journalism days?
And honestly, just remember now, whoever you name, everybody else is going to be fucking pissed at you forever.
No,
actually, that's not true because none of them watch this show. So there you go. You say
there you go.
You're yelling into a black hole here.
Well, that's why I agree to do this, because I don't usually show up on podcasts and things like that. Okay. So because I'm like because I'm basically thinking like, who the hell cares about this guy? Like
exactly.
I mean, like, so it's like I run brand channels. Like I people talk to me more as this amorphous voice for other places. So that's fine. But yeah, it's tough. It really is. It's like there's like I could look to my very first editor at a business magazine in New York who took a chance on me, and like she took a gamble on some like wet behind the ears, fresh out of college kid who had gumption enough to literally knock on the door and say, "Hey, are you hiring?"
Did you sing "Take a Chance on Me"?
No, I really wouldn't get any jobs doing that. But anyway, so but it was like she took me under her wing. She taught me what it was like to be an actual editor at an honest to God publication. She played her first my first professional prank was played on me by her. She took me to the village for sushi one day. I never ate sushi before, so I get a bento box lunch, and she tells me the wasabi is mint ice cream.
Did you actually say who you miss working with the most?
Yes, it was Scooter. He said.
No. It's I mean like
Kristen.
Kristen was awesome.
Kristen is awesome. She still is awesome.
Like I said, I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of awesome people. Like the list of people would go on for days. It would really be that many good. I think the shorter list would be the people that I didn't get along with, but I'm not going to go into that because
two of them are on this podcast with you.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, who was the worst person you worked with? Sam Kennedy, wasn't it? No,
yeah, I don't know anybody who's got a bad word to say about Sam Kennedy. Sam Kennedy was just a genuinely nice bloke.
I'm sure plenty of people have plenty of bad things to say about me. But you know what?
I've never heard one.
No.
In all honesty, I've never heard one.
No.
Yeah. I mean, like it's it's life. You kind of anyway. So no, I mean, I can honestly say like I have infinite respect for a lot, even the people who like, we would get into like disagreements at publications. Like you feel really strongly about how something should go because journalistic integrity and whatever. Even then, like we would disagree, but at the end of the day, I respected their decisions and why they made those decisions.
Yeah, I know.
And some people, some people were in. I think a lot of this is actually I kind of do it like as I'm getting on in my years, reflecting right on like why people made decisions they made back in the day. So you gotta have a little. I try to give people a little more grace and kind of figure out. Thinking back now, it's easy to kind of like bury one time I got into basically I broke up a fight there used to be fights at events, and I would there'd be like these gang standoffs of journalists at times, and I remember like getting in between one. Yeah, totally. It was totally West Side Story stuff. The thing is, there was a book that I started writing, and I said, nah, I can't do this. Like it would be like such a weird
work in the games industry. Everybody's fun in the games industry.
I can't believe you actually tried to do that with like West Side Story. You really went there.
Well, it's either that or Grease.
Oh my God, we're now on the Broadway cast. There we go.
Yeah.
No, but I think there was a lot of stuff that happened that wasn't talked about.
So you broke up a fight between Ricardo Torres and who?
No. I'm not. It wasn't that. I'm not. It wasn't it. No, but it was really kind of funny. Like there was like some seriously messed up situations that I found myself breaking up fights in the middle of, or like kind of trying to diffuse situations over the years.
Doug Perry and we're just making them.
You just make stuff up.
Yeah. I would just like to say any and every name that Ray throws out there is not endorsed by this program and not endorsed by me. So please don't sue my ass.
No, Doug is a sweet guy. He once attacked me with a. he once somehow got drunken superhuman strength, and he took those handrails that go down to a pool. He pulled one out of the pool and started chasing me with it. I'm like, what the?
What? I'll have to ask. I was hanging out with Doug during GDC, so I have to remember this story for the next time I run into him.
Yes, it was in Mexico with Atari.
Oh, that thing. Okay.
Was this the Terminator one?
I don't know. He was drunk.
Was it the Quake? It was the Quake one with Ferrari, wasn't it?
It was the Quake one. Yeah.
By the way, I got to say I'm really enjoying this. If only for like, this is exactly the conversation we would be having at E3. This is what I've been missing.
But with more cursing.
Well, this is our plan moving forward. We're basically going to start pulling in people we admire and adore who we've worked with in the past.
And drink.
And so, yes, what we initially kicked the idea around, we were going to call this our Icons series. So when we find somebody worthy of the name, they'll get the icon thing. But thanks for being the warm up. I appreciate it.
No, I can make the video package. Steve Jobs.
Oh yeah, great. I'll put on a turtleneck.
Darren Gladstone.
Yeah,
icon. Well, no, we're going to do that. This is going to be part of a series where we talk to people who we've worked with and who have really contributed to the industry and are fun to be around and people we respect. And so you are the first one to be interviewed. Sorry, Paul Semmel, you don't count. Poor Paul. Paul has actually been on the show numerous times when we talk about Mandalorian and some of the Marvel stuff. And we'll get to Paul. Paul will get his moment in the sun. But Darren, you are our first icon. So,
wow,
as voted for by nobody on this panel.
Nobody
I voted.
And nobody in the Gladstone house either. So there you have it.
Hey, you can go out now and say, I'm an icon.
Yeah.
So knowing what you know now and where you are in your life now, would you ever consider going back into editorial, or is that part of your life done?
You know what? I actually dallied with it briefly. So our friend Libby Goad Ackerman,
Yeah.
so she started something called Super Parent a few years ago. Because there's been waves like John Davison did What They
What they
Play,
play, yeah.
and then IGN did, was it Green Pixels or something like that? Every once in a while, uh, you know, editors that become gamer parents, they have this idea in their head. Hey, let's make a video game for parents, a video game editorial for parents, and some people do it really well. And so anyway, so I helped out. I liked the idea of it, and I wrote some stuff for them for a bit. And it was fun. I had a good time with it, but I was very intentionally like, I'm not going to write reviews. I'm not going to do this. Like, you want me to do like goofy op-ed pieces? I'm here for it. And I did it for a little bit, and then after a while, it's like, you know what? Okay, that's fine. I don't feel the need, the burning desire like I used to, because what happened was what I realized I enjoyed doing more was when I was a journalist. I saw I had a mission. I was delivering as much information to people as possible, and after a while, I started realizing like I had this goal. You ever like have a goal you set for yourself,
Sure.
and then you hit it, and you're like, okay, now what?
Yes.
So I did that in journalism in 2007. I'm like, okay, now what? And I'm like, crap, I don't know. So I had to start finding new goals for myself,
Right.
and it's not that I still love writing. I do it all the time. I'm finishing a book right now, and I do writing for games and all these things, but the journalism part of my life, it's just like it's something that I had an amazing time doing, and I think and I was there at the right time in the right place, and and it was all that good stuff, and I'm never gonna regret doing it or leaving, but it was time for someone else to kind of tell their story and
Right.
and figure out how to do it better than me. And that's actually like what I do now is like whenever I work with someone or hire someone or bring someone on board with me, I look to bring on someone who I say I want to be my boss one day.
Now, this leads me to my next question, which is a point that Marcus has brought up a few times in this podcast, is that there is a segment of gamers that are around our age who are not really being served by the media. And it's something a common friend of ours, Elizabeth Olsen, brought up today, that there are older gamers, 40s, 50s, 60s,
Mm-hmm.
that play games every day, but there's really not a media outlet for those kinds of people, or even people in game marketing and PR that are catering to them. But a lot of them in our situations, like Marcus and I don't have kids, so we have more disposable income than, say, the demographic they all want, that 18 to 34 that everyone seems to target.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a room? Should those gamers be served by an outlet? I mean, what
You know
do
what
people in that?
you know what I think it comes down to? It's like the game industry is growing up with us, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So I think that we're still in the shadow of boomers and older people who still think of video games as the bonk 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 of Pac-Man on the 2600.
Yeah,
I mean, that's ultimately it's like Gen X, the forgotten generation that basically gets ignored on every single survey or study. They fail to acknowledge the fact that in a few years, yeah, people who are like the older tail end of Gen X is going to be in retirement age, and they're going to be like and in the same way that movies are kind of across the spectrum. Everybody watches movies,
right. Everyone
so
plays games.
everyone
Yeah,
plays. That's what's going to happen. I mean, basically, it's like there's still a generation of people in front of us that are the big noisemakers, and they have agendas to
right.
push.
And they're running the country pretty much. All those
Yeah, well, I mean, like,
people.
it's like the one thing I've been joking about is that for all of the things they said, oh, video games are horrible. They're gonna like make our kids horrible people. And meanwhile, everybody watching news networks are the horrible people, and they're the ones driving a wedge between everybody. So
Everybody on the news networks are horrible people.
anyway, here we go. I'm not saying that. Not saying that. Don't put words in my mouth.
No,
There we
I'm
go.
saying that for myself. I do believe that there should be a rule that if you call yourself a news network, you've actually got to deliver the news, not just a bunch of talking fucking heads. But
Right.
that's a whole different thing. But this is
Right.
this is our show, and I get to say whatever the fuck I want.
There you go. That's your God-given right.
You forgot to say that Gen X, we are Gen X.
Yes,
we're the fucking greatest generation. We were the first generation to really rock our own independence. We were latchkey kids.
Yes.
We were products of single parent homes in a lot of cases.
We're survivors.
We would walk to school. We basically would be out all day, and we were the ones who, played the video games, then made the video games, and
we did not grow up with seatbelts. I'll have you know.
but I mean,
I've got no problem with seatbelts. Look, again, because we're also the generation of some common fucking sense. Because it's like, okay, seatbelt, that's kind of smart. I'm down with that. What gun laws? I'm kind of down with that. Why? Because I'm fucking smart. I'm a gun owner who wants gun control. That's where we are.
Well, I think what it is that like this particular, just going back to the question about aging up gaming, and the articles and the conversations. I know Harry McCracken, actually one of the editors I work with, whom I'd say I respect infinitely. He eulogized the last of the PC gaming, the PC publications that are out there that closed recently.
I read that article.
Their print versions.
I read that article.
And so
that was a great article.
Yeah, and so what I think is that I think that it's a huge disservice to ignore this age bracket, regardless, and I feel like that it's once people start getting over the fact that it's almost like this. There's an age shaming, and it's not just on the catering to press side; it's on the actual industry side. And this is something we have to that has been brought up multiple times and needs to be addressed. Is that there's room for people who are experienced and been in the business and are kind of getting up there in years and experience.
Yes,
and working as a mentor with people that are coming up.
Yes, but it used to piss me off so much when people that I looked up to, like Andy Eddy or John Kiefer, would struggle for work, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh,
it's honestly it's kind of sad that you basically some people just kind of exit the business because they don't get the opportunities, the respect. And that's really kind of it. On the journalism side, it used to be this musical chairs game. You one magazine, you just go to the next. But but as they started imploding, you had a larger and larger pool of people looking for work. And so
going back to what you said about people coming in now, it's easier to hire 15 fresh-faced people who you can work to death than one really, really experienced journalist who can write you amazing stuff, but actually has a work-life balance and has responsibilities and needs to pay bills and put kids through college and this, that, and the other. The fact that there's no safety net for people who have basically shepherded a lot of the games industry through its teething years and its teenage years is quite frustrating. But I do think the rise, I coin it the rise of the gray gamer, because we're all gray in some shape or form, thanks to
my soul,
too many years in video games. But we had a great time doing it. So, some of us are paying for it, some of us not so much.
Yeah, I mean, like I lived through this amazing moment, this amazing time, and met so many really cool people, and you guys. And
thank you. I love you too, Tuts.
And it's I never, like, a day does not go by that I do not realize how lucky I am every single day, and and this is gonna sound super sappy, but like every victory my friends have, game they made, script they wrote, thing that got published or produced. For me, I'm just like, I could not be happier to see all my friends succeeding.
99.9% agree with you.
Except for that one guy.
Except for that one guy who recently got a comic book. Fuck you. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, no. Come on. He's awesome. He's always been nice to me, and he's always been a good soul.
I think, to be honest with you, we were lucky in that we basically worked through a golden age of video games. That you look at, whether it be PC games, and moving the PC, moving from a word processor and a business tool to this home entertainment system, to we played on the Nintendos, we played, we played and written about the Sega Genesis, and then we were talking about the PlayStation and the 3DO and the Dreamcast, and we saw Sega bow out the console space, and then we saw the Nintendo stuff come through, and the Wii and the PS2 and the PS3 and the Xbox, and I mean, we worked through this era from about 95, 96 to, I would say, about 2015. That was quite a spectacular 19-20 year period where games just jumped forward exponentially and really did take their place as the top tier of entertainment in on the planet. And we were all there. We were all part of this in one way or another, whether it was hawking our wares, writing about them, doing stupid videos about them. And I wouldn't change a thing, to be honest with you, because there's a lot of people that have come through that I really respect. And like you said, Darren, there are so many of them who are doing so well and gone on to amazing things that you cannot begrudge. And we've lost a bunch of them way too soon. And let's face it, there are a couple of fuck knuckles who wouldn't, still wouldn't piss on if they were on fire.
Love that.
But at the end of the day, we really did. It was fucking glorious time. Let's face it, it's never to be repeated, because video games was not the conveyor belt. The automation factory conveyor belt that it unfortunately has become to a certain degree.
Only for the AAA stuff, though. Like, I find myself like, if you were to look at my Steam Deck collection of the games I kind of go to and play all the time now, there are 90% indie games.
Well, I mean, what I was gonna do was going to finish off and say yes.
Oh, sorry.
Well, there was no, but you're right. There was a phenomenal indie game. I mean, you look at Vampire Survivors. Where the fuck did that come from? 10 years ago, that wouldn't have got the light of day, and now it has, and it's picked up Game of the Year, and it's so well deserved. It's such an infuriatingly addictive game, much like Hades before it.
Cheers, Greg Kasavin.
Yeah, and
he's one of the good ones who made it.
Absolutely. But yeah, you're now looking at everything has to, it's much like movies, everything has to be a sequel. How many Call of Duties are we on? How many Maddens are we on? This, that, and it's just small iterations every single year. I mean, it's rare we get something come out of left field as a big AAA that will blow us away. But when we were working, we had so many great games coming out. And there were so many people, different companies producing great shit. And Activision, believe it or not, people, and this is not to you two, because you know this, but I'm going to put this out there to the people who are watching this. Activision used to release more than one game a year, and it wasn't Call of Duty. I mean, back in the day, there were a lot of games coming from the likes of Activision, and there were a lot of different companies doing that on a regular basis. At one point, we were like the movie industry, in that we were looking at everybody else's release dates to see where we could put our game so that we didn't go head to head with somebody else. And that was part of the fun of it. We were all playing everybody else's game. We were all having a bunch of fun, and games were getting greenlit and games were coming out, and they were selling, because even though games was initially a much smaller marketplace, as it grew and big brothers and big sisters gave their consoles to the next in line, it all grew exponentially, and the taste for more games arrived. And thank God for the indie scene today, because the indie scene today, and I think indie is probably doing them a disservice, because they're auteurs as far as I'm concerned. They really are. We're producing some amazingly creative stuff. Although it would be nice if we could not continually go back to pixelated 16-bit looking games, because you know what? Been there, done that. We played those on the Genesis. We played those on the Super NES. Let's go straight to the PlayStation 1 era and start copying that version.
I feel weird saying it because the pandemic actually unlocked a lot of things for me. It basically, it kind of gave me, I mean, it gave a lot of people the opportunity to kind of reset their lives and figure out, okay, what am I doing wrong? What can I do differently, better, help others, or just help myself and make me do things smarter. And
what was it? What do you do? What was the thing that you learned? What was your pandemic skill that you picked up, or what decision did you make at the during the pandemic?
Okay,
that sent you in a different direction.
So, I'll spare you all the details, but basically, I was at a place that before the pandemic and into the early pandemic, I was at a place that just wasn't right for me. That's the most polite way to put it. It wasn't the right place for me. And so I left, and I basically started saying, okay, almost instantly, the kind of positive energy started like coming to and from me. And I was like thinking, okay, what can I do? What can I, a friend, a good buddy of mine lives down the street. He says, dude, we've always been talking about making a board game. Let's just do it. So over the course of that summer, we created, my friend and I, we created an IP, and we designed a board game series, a modular board gaming system. And then we said, okay, I have a better idea. Let's turn this into a book series and then a board game system. So we're doing that. I mean, like, which is crazy.
Amazing.
And so we did. And then while this is happening, I'm helping design a VR game. And then on top of that, I get the thing at Telltale. So and it's been like this kind of like this snowball effect of just kind of like a creative, just outpouring of energy I hadn't had in a long time, because it forced me, it forced a lot of people to kind of take a moment to reflect on what needed to be done.
That's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. I can't wait to see
Same here
when it comes out.
Oh yeah, by the way, the VR, if you guys have, it's totally like a super indie. I hate to say it, like very like the VR game. Actually, if you have a Quest 2, let me know. It just came out a couple weeks ago.
Well, you can pimp it.
No, it's not like that. It's not like that.
No, come on, pimp it.
I want.
All right. So the game's called BlockBuster, and the idea is that it's a first-person kaiju game. And so basically, it's very like it's about childhood wish fulfillment, right? You're basically like you start off as like a giant radioactive lizard. You can unlock other monsters, and basically the whole game is like you're destroying cities.
So it's like the old game Rampage.
Yeah, it's basically like it's like a VR, but it's a VR Rampage, exactly, and it's kind of like. It kind of released. It was the brainchild of other people, and I basically helped with some core gameplay loop stuff.
And you can eat Darren in this game.
Yes. They made a little version of me that you can pick up off the street, and you can eat people. It's I insisted on being able to be edible.
That's not the edibles I'm taking tonight.
Ray, what was your pandemic skill set? What did you pick up? What did you do? Because we never really discussed it.
The big thing is that I gave time to people that did not deserve it, and I've cut back on that a lot.
So you basically devoted it more to self-care.
Not just self-care, but also reconnecting with older friends that I know will be in my life for a long time.
I totally hear that. I mean, like, and I don't want to gloss over this fact. I mean, this is actually the most important thing. I'd say, like, the key moment is part of like this whole shit show of 2020 and beyond. It kind of forced us all to like, I don't know about you guys, like we like Marcus, I know we got together on like chats a couple times just to catch up and see how we're doing as people, and like there's a lot of that, right?
And part of it is everything you've been going through, Marcus, has inspired me to live life better, because I am wasteful with my time. I do a lot of stupid shit, and I give people time that, maybe this person has a very specific thing I want, but has no other value to my life at all. And yes, I was talking about sex. No.
And he's not talking about me, by the way.
No.
That
was 10 years ago.
He was actually talking about his left hand.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I want to get you like 10 minutes ago when you were talking about the glory days of the business as we saw it. Like in my head, I was seeing like a montage of all of our favorite moments as Time of Our Life from Dirty Dancing is playing in the background.
I'm not lifting you up.
Yeah,
It's not happening.
but I'll put you in a corner. But yeah, look, I think it was because, like I said, you can never have any of that today because of the state of the world and the state of media and social media, and everything's recorded. I mean, there was stuff there that happened that would be frowned upon today. Nothing illegal, but I mean, we all raged.
Maybe.
We all raged, and we all partied, and we all did X, Y, and Z, but we weren't judged on it back then. But now it's very, very judgy. Everybody gets a good, I totally am offended by this. I'm professionally offended for a living. The pearl clutching is in full effect.
Well, there was a party that I went. I'm pretty sure Darren was there. There was a party in Potrero Hill where a friend of Darren and I's, somebody gave us drinks. And then the next day is what I remembered. And apparently we were both roofied. And we have a pretty good idea of who did it too. Nothing bad happened that as far as we can remember, but that was kind of disturbing that we lost so much time. We only have flashes of it. We remember hanging out together. We don't remember any details, but we're definitely drugged.
That's pretty shitty. I mean, I've never had to deal with that. I did have an experience at PAX once, where there was an industry event that I went to, and the wife of the studio head, whose company was throwing the party, decided to basically attack me and give me a hickey. And wow. I mean, this was a woman who worked out a lot, and there's the shock of boom and suck, and of course I had to come home to this house to my wife and say, "Hey, babe, so this happened, but thankfully I've got this person who is a friend of us both, and that person will tell you exactly what happened." And it was, I mean, I know it's nothing about what a lot of women go through, but
still, you were violated.
it was really, really insane. I mean, who the fuck does that to somebody? I mean, that's, that was a rough one. But
so Darren, were you ever drug or hickeyed?
You know what? There definitely was a time that I had a it's like, as I said, master of a vice. So I would always know when to stop. I would never actually I always kind of prided myself on like knowing where the finish line was and just kind of like stopping before the finish line and then casually walking across. So there was a time or two when something went south, and like I was definitely out of my head, and I noticed something was wrong, and I'm like, okay, time to eject. And I would just ghost out of an event, and I'm like, okay, this is it. I don't know what happened, but I'm getting out right now.
Smart. Okay, we have talked enough, everyone, and Darren,
let's end on that note. Yeah.
On that cheerful note, this is why we're all gray, or graying, or blue. But yes,
if you want to catch up with Darren, he's at Gizmo Gladstone on Twitter. Is that correct?
Yeah, I basically just I kind of had that. I've had that handle for forever at a million places. Yeah. I'm the original Gizmo on most game system, on most like Xbox and everything else. And
what's the website for the game that you worked on?
Oh, it's just BlockBuster.com, all one word, or Blockbuster Game, I think. Let me see. I don't even know.
Blockbuster Video.
Yeah, that's a thing. Blockbuster Game.
Actually, Blockbuster Video, their website got reactivated last week.
What? Don't call it a comeback.
Yeah, it's blockbustergame.com.
Blockbuster Game. Let's check it
Yeah,
out.
so there's that, and then like the millions of other things I can't talk about yet. But
yes.
Yeah.
But thank you for joining us. It was awesome to have this all recorded, but it's awesome to just catch up with you.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I just wanted to catch up with y'all. Like everything else, that's just gravy, whatever. I literally just I don't get to see y'all enough. We don't get to hang out at E3 this year since there's no E3,
Yeah.
and yeah. So
Will there
I'll
ever
miss.
be another E3? So
I,
yeah,
I,
we'll
I
see.
will I will definitely miss the bacon wrapped hot dogs being sold on the streets of downtown LA.
And the rampant diarrhea that follows.
Yes, and guys,
Again, high road, keeping it high, buddy.
Stay tuned for our next episode where hopefully, maybe it's the next episode or the one after that, where we will have the BeeRPad's very first giveaway. So stay tuned. We got some cool stuff coming for you.
Now, would that be our Mandalorian season 3 recap?
We are doing a Mandalorian season 3 recap because we have to. I mean, a lot has happened.
Yeah.
That's right. And we will see you next time on the BeeRPad. Follow us here. Those are all our socials up there. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and follow Darren.
Tell your friends. Tell your friends to tell their friends.
And tell your mom. I don't know. Bye, guys.
Oh,